Are you struggling to increase your podcast audience, let alone generate leads, inquiries, and paying customers from your podcast? Well, stick around because I'm going to share mistake number 1 of the 7 podcasting mistakes that aspiring thought leaders and change makers should avoid if they want to go from invisible to influential and profitable with their podcast. Hi, I'm Annemarie Cross, the podcasting queen, award-winning podcast host and producer. I help change makers and aspiring thought leaders who feel like the world's best kept secret go from invisible to influential and profitable with a podcast. Let's have a look at podcasting mistake number 1. So what is podcasting mistake number 1? Well, it is not having a clear strategy. Now, obviously, one of the reasons you want to start your podcast is to increase your visibility and reach. Now, that's a given. However, to ensure that your podcast stands out from all of the other podcasts, that you're able to position yourself as an authority in your field, and that you're able to nurture listeners into leads and ultimately paying clients from your very first episode, you must have a clear strategy in place. For instance, one of my clients who already is a recognized expert and even an authority in her field, she had a myriad of options that she could go towards with her podcast. So she struggled to define a clear strategy. So I asked her this question: what's the one outcome you would love to achieve from your podcast? When I asked that question of her, her answer was simple: to sell more software. So with this clearly defined outcome, we were able to define who her audience was, so her ideal client. We were able to map out relevant content that she knew her ideal client would be interested in and searching for, which then went ahead and determined the topics for some of her upcoming podcast episodes. It enabled us to also create a compelling introduction that immediately grabbed their attention and positioned her and the software as the go-to software. And we were also able to write a compelling outro that would entice the listener to try out her software. Now, these are just a few of the outcomes that she's now been able to implement just by having a clearly defined outcome and solid strategy in place to help her. Plus, she's going to continue to position herself as that authority because she'll be consistently delivering high quality, relevant content to a lucrative niche market. Now, with another one of my clients, when brainstorming some ideas for her podcast and how she was going to generate the best ROI in terms of leads and ultimately clients, we had a look at her current program offerings, and she had a group coaching program, her mastermind. She had a high-end program and then a once-off consultation. Now, we realized that she was much better off focusing her attention on filling her mastermind group, because once clients were in there, she'd naturally be able to upsell and enroll those clients from the mastermind group into her high-end VIP programs because of the successes that they were generating through being in her mastermind. And some people would just be ready to move up to the higher level packages. Now, just getting clear on this enabled her to get a solid strategy in place in terms of topics, in terms of content, because she knew her ideal clients would be seeking that content and that topic. And she would come up with an enticing call to action that would compel her listener to take that next step. Now, she'd never have been able to do that had she not determined a clear strategy. So let me ask you, why are you starting your podcast, and what's the one outcome that you would love to achieve with your podcast? Now, this is aside from building reach and building visibility and becoming known as that thought leader in your industry. I encourage you to pinpoint that, then map out a strategy on how your podcast is going to support you in getting in front of and developing a relationship, that know, like, and trust that you want to build with your ideal customer, along, of course, with a call to action that's so compelling they cannot wait to learn more from you. Let me know in the comment below, what thoughts have you had? Now, also, you want to learn how you can go from invisible to influential and profitable with your own Thought Leader podcast? Access my free masterclass where I'll show you 3 podcast profit models and the tactic that my clients and I are using to nurture our listeners into leads and ultimately paying clients right from our very first episodes. All you need to go to is www.podcastingwithpurpose.com/masterclass. And by the way, let's hang out on some of my podcasts. I've got 3 going at the moment. Annemarie.com/podcast, Annemarie.com/podcast. And if you want to have a chat to see where some of the gaps are in your podcast strategy, DM me and we'll make a time to chat.